Hi you guys, so this video is intended to give you a brief overview of the wide belt sander. We're going to start with the control panel here. So we have two water pumps. This switch turns on pump number 1. This switch turns on pump number 2. Pump number 1 is located here. And what it does is it pumps water from the lower tank up into the upper tank. Now you can turn on pump number 1 without pump number 2, because as this top tank fills, the water will bleed back. There's a channel here inside. The water will bleed back into the lower tank before the upper tank has a chance to overfill. Pump number 2 is located here in the upper tank, and it feeds water to the actual sanding machine through these hoses. We have water top and bottom of the roller, and then we also have water over here top and bottom of the conveyor, and I'll show you that in a moment. Be careful if you turn on only pump number 2. It can actually pump all the water out of the top tank through the machine, which then returns to the bottom tank. And if you don't have pump number 1 on, the bottom tank will eventually overflow. So those are the pumps. Next we have the conveyor and then the platen, which is inside there. Now the way I leave it set up is I leave about maybe a millimeter tighter on this side of the conveyor. Or I'm sorry, the other way around, a millimeter looser over here than I have over here. So as I'm feeding parts, give me an example, 11 gauge. Sometimes 11 gauge is a little bit thicker, sometimes a little bit thinner. So I have it set for 11 gauge, basically to be perfect right here in the middle. And if I have a little thicker piece of metal, I can run it over here where I have a little bit more room set up. Or if I need to hit a little harder, or I have a thinner gauge, I can run it over here and it'll hit a little harder. You could set it up so it's completely even all the way across if you need to do something, let's say, as wide as 36 inches. But again, in this case, I have it set purposely so it's a little tighter on this side. And also that allows me, if I want to hit a part 2 or 3 times, I can hit it once here. And without readjusting the spacing there, I just can move the part over and hit it harder and harder and harder. To adjust that's a little bit tricky. Underneath here, and I'm afraid it's dark, you can't see, but underneath there's some rods, and they basically help balance the platen here or the conveyor. And what you would do is get underneath and just put the conveyor a little bit higher on this side than on this side if you want it set up the way I have it set up. So a couple other things to mention then. The belt, and I'm sorry it's so dark, but to change the belt, what you're going to do is turn off the air and then bleed that piston. The way you bleed the piston is by releasing either one of these fittings here. That'll bleed the piston. Sorry. Open up this guy here.